I saw with Carrie and Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill. We were all in the back row of the Ziegfeld Theater, which is the biggest movie theater in New York, for the very first showing ever of Star Wars. Even the studio hadn't seen it with all the special effects in. And of course, Mark and Carrie, no one had ever seen the movie, and they had no idea what they were in. But you could tell within 5 minutes, once that crawl was happening, and you saw those battered spaceships that had never been seen. Nobody ever saw like a working spacecraft before. And all the special effects, you knew movies would never be the same.
We were just using the term chilling like a villain, and you look like you're chilling.
I'm totally chilling. I'm out at my place upstate and hang out with my dog.
What's your dog's name?
Mary. Something about Mary. And a few other animals I got here, goats, and we're just filling out an application to get some ostriches and emus.
So you're full on farm, like you're gonna go full on.
I think other people, run from the ostrich, but I do like them. I've had them for years.
You've had ostriches for years? I've always wondered if you could legitimately ride an ostrich. Like
I used to say that was just like Disney mumbo jumbo, but apparently you really can. I've seen YouTube things of people in Australia able to do that. You couldn't ride mine, man. They would just gut you.
Right.
They were really, really dangerous, but that's what was fun about them. They would just come and scare the hell out of you.
Well, good luck getting the ostrich.
Where are you guys? Are you in Toronto?
Oakville, Ontario. Just like 45 minutes out of Toronto.
Yeah.
In Oakville.
Yeah. Have you been?
Yeah, many times. I've also been dating for a couple of years a Toronto girl.
No way! So you're down here fairly often.
I have been. You're in Oakville, you said? Yeah.
Yeah, come on over anytime.
All right.
Rent an ostrich for your arrival.
I was going to say, bring your ostrich. It's so nice to connect with you, and congratulations on the film, man.
Sure.
So we want to start off talking about Paul, because we were looking at this picture of Paul right here, and I was like, everybody knows a Paul. Everyone's had a Paul in their life. Like there's Paul in all his glory.
Look at him in his tank.
I love it.
You look great.
So
look at you.
So
I know it's far cry from the neurotic academics that types I played before. I was really thrilled to be checked out in that year. I was Darren, his old friend. He and Charlie, who wrote the book, it's based on the script, thought of me. And, I don't know, the older I get, the more interesting the parts have been lately. So
Right.
It's a good thing.
What was interesting about this one particularly? Is it Austin Butler and how handsome he is? Because that's...
Yes, he's a dreamboat, and I just had to work with the dreamboat.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get lost in his eyes.
Me too.
He's, also I saw, Austin in this unbelievable cast of people I had seen with Regina and Bad Bunny, Action, and but it was also, I lived in the East Village, pretty consistently since I moved to New York, when I was like 18 in the 70s.
Mm.
I was well familiar with these bars and these kind of owners that have it, that were, really seasoned, hardcore kind of guys who've seen a lot of stuff. And, my character in particular is a Vietnam vet, and, but also, you run a bar, you're dealing with mob, you're dealing with junkies. You're definitely got some, in the 90s and certainly the 80s, the bartender could serve you a drink and you can buy some, couple of boils.
Yep.
And I think my character, really likes this. So it was, I understood the geography very well.
Yeah.
I'm that old milieu.
Bringing your own experience.
It's sort of, everything's in New York is becoming more and more homogenized. But,
You love New York.
when we were shooting, one of the things I loved when we first moved to New York was coming from California, where everything shuts down at midnight or 2 if you're lucky. Bars stayed up until 4, and then there were after hours bars that went on until 10 in the morning. And when we were shooting in this day and age, pretending we were set in the 90s, there were bars all around us, but they shut down at like 10 and 11.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, we're just turning into, I don't know, Salt Lake City or something.
You're talking about having lived there for, since you were about 18 years old, kind of becoming part of the fabric of the neighborhood. We're really curious about a picture here that we've got.
So one of the things we did is go through your social media, and we love doing this because it kind of gives us an understanding of what your journey is. And we couldn't get over the photos that you posted. And like Carlos says, New York, and this photo.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Yeah. So that was a night in New York. My roommate, it wasn't Mark, the dude. There was Princess Leia, who became Princess Leia, but Carrie Fisher. And I, grew up in LA. And when I moved to New York, she came to New York some years later, and her mother insisted she had a male roommate. And since we were best friends, that was when I left the East Village. But to go to the Upper West Side, where I would never consider living, and go with a doorman, which was beneath me. It did not go with my gift card at all. Right. But her mother, Debbie Reynolds, insisted. So we were kids living in this, rather nice. It was a maid's quarters of a very posh building, but still it had doormen and all that kind of stuff. And then she went off and did some movie in England, she said, and going to be gone for a while. And then she called me in the middle of the night, and say, "Oh my God, I hate this movie. This is the stupidest movie. It's so dumb. I get bagels on the side of my head, and we're running down corridors, and they don't even have triggers. And there's some little person in a trash can that rolls along beside us, and a big idiot running around." I said, "What's it called again?" Star Wars. Was that one word, 2 words? No, Star and then Wars. So that picture was the week that the movie opened.
Yeah.
And there's a couple, a very they were my parents' age, but they were as hip as can be. This guy who ran Rolling Stone Records, he was like my fake uncle. I've known him since I was 10 or 11. And they looked after me whenever I was in New York and making meals. And so I brought them to one of their parties, Mark and Carrie, one of their parties. And that was that was a week that Star Wars opened when that picture was taken. And if you look, there's a picture, you see Carrie, and then the painting behind.
Yeah, yes. What is that?
It almost mirrors her.
It's exactly what I said.
We were just saying that. What is it?
The guy, Earl McGrath, who's the one who ran Rolling Stone Records, his wife was Camille McGrath, and she was a great photographer. And she clearly, deliberately lined it up like that.
That's amazing. Given that you've been at that point in time, you've been around show business your entire life. Did you even imagine the way that movie would change the future of film and filmmaking and storytelling?
I would never have imagined it in the future, but I could imagine I saw with Carrie, we sat in Harrison, Ford, and Mark Hamill. We were all in the back row of the Ziegfeld Theater, which is the biggest movie theater in New York, for the very first showing ever of Star Wars. Even the studio hadn't seen it with all the special effects in. And there was it wasn't like a test screening, but they put out some sort of announcement about it. And nothing had ever been written about Star Wars. No one, wasn't based on anything. But somehow science fiction freaks, and they got messages on their tinfoil hats or something, and they just went like following Mecca or something, and filled up the theater with these people who just had a feeling about this movie. And of course, Mark and Carrie, and no one had ever seen the movie, and they had no idea what they were in. But you could tell that within 5 minutes, once that crawl was happening, and you saw those battered spaceships that had never been seen. Nobody ever saw like a working spacecraft before, and all the special effects. You knew movies would never be the same, and they never were.
The great thing about you is that you have so many incredible stories, and you wrote this book, The Friday Afternoon Club, and you really delved into your experiences, your family's experience, the parties. I'm hearing Sean Connery stories. There's so much about it. I'm curious to know, what did you learn about yourself through writing this book?
Well, I learned that for whatever reason, I suspected so, but once I saw it all listed and I'd written it all down, that for some reason I was chosen to be a zealot-like figure whose presence intersected with all these cultural or historical moments that I was witness to. Mostly as a kid, mostly as an observant kid who remembered stuff. But when I was looking at all the things from, driving past the house, the night of after the morning that Sharon Tate and all the others inside the house their bodies were found by the Manson gang.
Yeah.
To seeing the very first screening of Star Wars, there were these moments that I found myself in that were incredibly unique. I don't know, why that was. I think it's because I always was curious. If I saw a door that was open to crack, I had to go through it. Or you could say, don't enter, and I went. And it opened me up to, a lot of experiences, and good and bad, and kind of scary, and but memorable. So I just wanted to get it all down in a book.
Mm-hmm. We have a picture here that I think is so lovely, and I wanted to know how much of what you described about yourself, about that curiosity, do you see or have you passed down to your daughter?
Yes, well, she's very much like that, and she is a like me, that doesn't settle on one.
It looks like you too.
Yeah, she does. She's a pretty good combination. Her mother is very beautiful, and she's a great combination of us both. And she, like me, is easily distractible. I produce movies, I direct, I act. She is very much the same way. She's very much she inherited something from some family member, we don't know who, to be, because nobody else in the family. She's a great artist as a painter, and has an incredible voice as a singer. So we don't know where she got that. But she is she's she's been punk since she was like a little kid, just drawn to really hardcore music, and makes her own.
What's your best piece of advice for someone who wants to, raise a kid that has qualities that they like and admire, and someone who they might want to hang out with as well when they're grown up?
I think it should be encouraging, if your kid has any kind of interest in any subject, in any field, just encourage it. I remember, I often think like, what if George Lucas's parents pull and, rip the comic books out of his hands and, told him to read Dickens? Where would we be with movies? Kids start off, they're curious right out of the bat.
Yeah.
And many times people, parents mistakenly try to veer them towards something, in my day, I remember I went to a school where, I'm probably, my mother's half Hispanic and Mexican. And I went to a school where they taught Latin. And they wouldn't let me take Spanish, but they pushed me toward Latin. Like, who's going to speak Latin? So
I took Latin too. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, so I just think it's like, anyone is interesting if they're interested in other stuff and if they're curious, and that should be, always encouraged.
Trends are cyclical, man. I feel like Latin's coming back.
Latin. Hey, it's good for math and science. That's why I took it.
If turtlenecks can come back, Latin can come back too.
You've been in this industry for so long with your parents and everything that you've reflected on your book. How do you define Hollywood?
It's just constantly changing, and it's sort of it can be kind of a scary place, People do it because they think you're going to be famous or that's going to be very glamorous. But a lot of what drives people in all different fields in movies is fear. It's in fear I'm not going to work again. Fear I'm going to fail. So it's very, very high pressure, and it's constantly, the technology is constantly changing.
Yeah.
And it's putting people out of work or they fear it. Well, goes back to, talkies replacing silent movies, to television is going to, ruin the movie business. And now here we are with streaming and AI. And so you just have to be really adaptable. And there's a reason a lot of people's careers don't last very long, where it just is like either too exhausting to stay in, or you succumb to this idea that's inflicted on you. It's like, he's too old. We're only going to go with, the first name guy who made a cool music video. And then, somebody who's, falling into the trope of, being out of fashion or of a certain age, or you just got to keep moving forward and come up with your own stuff and your own material. If you want to stay in it, you got to be really quick on your feet and inventive and fearless.
Is that what you attribute your staying power to? Because we see you in things. It's almost like every week there's another role that you're embodying, and it's like you've been doing this for for a lot of people you're quite the legendary actor. A lot of people have seen your movies, and they if we're talking about your work with Scorsese, or I'm sure the work that you did with Darren on this picture, you're always coming up into the conversation. So do you attribute all those things you just said now to your own staying power?
But I think so. I think if you just can, I certainly had follow periods of, and real disappointments, and made some odd choices as an actor to go one direction when I should have gone another way, or choose to produce when I should be acting, when there's, it's very hard to be the CEO of your own career. It requires a real sense of, which I never had. I have a good talent for material. I I know it's a good story, but it's harder to see yourself as a good story. So I've had some dry periods, but I've always managed to, if one didn't work, I was able to then produce something that did, and if you just sort of stay active, suddenly you're in your 60s and older, and younger people are looking at the breadth of your career, and you're like Abe Lincoln or something, and you're just like a legendary guy. And I'll roll with it.
Different ending.
Anyway, yeah, different ending.
What would you say your legacy is then?
Oh. What?
I was going to say, what would you say is your legacy then?
Oh, I don't know. I guess, just staying in it. Just staying young at heart, and being hungry and curious, and I'm always reading. I'm always looking for new stories to tell, and I really love what I'm doing, and I want to keep doing it. I don't know if that's a legacy, but that's where I'm at.
His legacy, he rocks. That's what it is.
He rocks.
Yeah, you rock. You're pretty awesome. And you rock in this picture as well.
Oh, yes, that's right. Well, yeah,
So what do you think of Donald Trump? I'm just going to ask you straightforward.
I mean, there are so many disgraceful moments, and I've been I'm very pleased.
We're Canadian, so
I know you are. I'm very pleased. And I love that there's a destructiveness about Trump where he was for the other guy, but he trashed. He was so hard on the tariffs and so disrespectful to the man that was elected. Forgive me, I'm forgetting his name now, but he sounded very like a great guy, and he was very combative with Trump. And so, especially with my girlfriend. You're going, I like your guy.
Mark Carney.
But today, just to see this press conference with Zelensky and the stuff. Here is a man fighting for his country, and all these lives are being lost, all of his citizens, and he's going on about the fraudulent election and still whining about what a terrible person the previous president Biden was. And it's just an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed for my country about him. And to see these police and ICE and National Guard roaming the streets, of DC over every city has crime. And this is a warm up for something much scarier. I hope I'm able to speak freely in 4 years about this, but it's really worrisome what's happening here.
Well, appreciate your outspokenness too, man. Thank you.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
The title of the movie is Caught Stealing. So the definition of stealing, is there anything in your life that has been stolen from you?
Oh God, yeah. Well, speaking of East Village, I took my early apartments were like workshops for thieves to break into. It was so consistent. That's just a rite of passage to get robbed. As a matter of fact, I just had to buy a new watch. I have a watch I really love, and I was at a writers' conference, and it was in a very elegant hotel. And I took out my watch and I put it on the bar and ordered a martini. And I don't know, I got to my room. I only had one martini, and got to my room, and my watch wasn't on my wrist. And I went right back to the bar. When I think I left my watch on because I took it off to set the time. I was in a time zone. Somebody stole it.
Oh.
In this very elegant hotel.
Oh.
But I went out and bought another one the same one.
That's fine.
I gotta tell you, man, if you were here if you were here, by the time you got back downstairs, someone would have been waiting with it for you. And they're like, I've been waiting for you.
Sir.
Sir, here's your watch.
You just got to move to Canada. Just come down here.
Yeah,
Thank you
man.
so much for this conversation.
Thank you.